All right, today I'm going to be showing you how to use a handful of different tools to replace the CV boots on anything with a CV joint in a boot that looks like this here. There are several different kinds of clamps and tools that if you're ordering online a boot kit, you may get a different clamp than you're used to, maybe a different clamp than you have a tool for. And I just wanted to show you a couple of those options and then show you how you use those tools. First type here, and what I'm going to be doing in this process, we've got a bad inner joint here, we've got a bad outer joint here. So I'm actually going to take this inner joint and put it on this shaft here. I'm just going to kind of be doing that while I'm explaining these different bands, how to use the different tools. So if you have a band that you like, I would suggest buying that tool, because if you own a four-wheeler, you do any kind of trail riding, use it for agriculture, you are going to at some point rip some CV boots, and you want to make sure you have those tools handy, and that way you can change it out quick rather than let your four-wheeler sit there while you order the tool. Alright, the first band that we're going to be working with is actually one that comes on I think majority Polaris ATVs, and I grabbed a pair of side dikes. If you squeeze the clamp together, it will actually loosen up where the clamp end is. So there's a little area, and I'll show you this closer to the camera here so you can see it, but this band is going to look like this. Just like this when it's on there. There's going to be an area like these 2 points here that you can take your side dikes, squeeze them together, and unhook those clamps. You can actually reuse these. If you go on with a same thickness boot, you can reuse these as long as you don't obviously cut them or damage those points there. You can reuse them. I don't like reusing these because a lot of times a Polaris boot may be thicker than say an EPI boot or a Moose boot or a handful of other different brands. Might have a different thickness, and if you put a clamp on there that's not going to get tight enough, then you're going to end up boot grease is going to leak out. So same thing on this side. Pinch those 2 areas there. All right, pinch those 2 areas there, and then you just lift up on this back flap here, and that boot just snaps off just like that. Okay, we got both the clamps off there. Now we're going to pull the actual boot off of there. Because it's destroyed, ripped so bad, this joint actually feels good, but there's a lot of debris in there. These shafts, I'm actually rebuilding or building one of them, one good shaft, because these aren't worth a ton of money used online anyways, which is what my plan is to do, is go and sell this. So I'm just going to make one good one as opposed to having 2 half shafts here. Okay, here's a small clip on the inside of this joint here. It's right up against this shaft, and that clip will actually clamp down onto the shaft. So get your snap ring pliers in there, and then you just take and you can just tap on this joint. And as soon as you get it out of the groove there, you can let go of the snap ring pliers and just tap it the rest of the way out. There we go, that is off. Now we're gonna use this shaft here. Again, this joint is good, but it didn't have it, rather than clean it up, this shaft is no good because of this outer joint here. So what I'm going to do is pull this joint apart here and slide it on here. So I'm going to set this aside, and I've already showed you the clamps on this one here. We got the same thing, pinch these 2 together. Okay, we've got this joint ready to go back onto this shaft here. First thing you're going to want to remember to do is put your CV boot on before you slide your joint on there. The other thing you're going to want to do, there's a clamp, and I've done several videos on this style of clamp. The clamps are put together already. You slide them in, then you fold them over. Check those videos out on my website or on my YouTube channel if you haven't seen those. I'm not going to go over that style of clamp this time. That's typically what you use this tool for, and I've got a handful of other videos using this style clamp here. I wanted to focus on a couple other styles this time, so make sure if you're using that style that you put your clamp on at this time. Now, the rest of the tools we're going to be able to slide over top of this shaft. You don't have to put them on now. Now what I like to do is slide it a little bit past, and then take your joint here and your grease, Open it up there, take, and you can put a bunch of grease in there at this point. Okay, and then you set your, I like to take and I'll prop my shaft up like this, so you have the weight of that shaft kind of setting down there. And then you take and just push down. Make sure that those splines are lined up with the shaft and that joint there, and they should fit right in. Now what I do is I'll take and I'll pull this out, and I'll tap on it a little bit just to make sure that that clip has snapped. If you don't have a lot of grease around there, or if you do, maybe take your finger, wipe that off. Just make sure that that clip's in place there, and then slide that back down. Now what you can do is go ahead and finish and drain the rest of that grease in there. Okay, once we put that grease in there, now we can take and slide this boot into place. And then slide this one into the groove there. You want to make sure that it is into that groove there, otherwise it's not going to seal properly. Now we're all done with the messy part. I like to take at this point and wipe everything down. That way we're not getting more tools and our hands greasy again. Now we're going to take and now we're going to put these clamps on there. Okay, this style, like I said, you can reuse these from Polaris. I'm not going to do that at this point. I'm going to show you a different style clamp that is becoming more and more popular, is this style here. It requires a tool like this here, and it's got an area here that you clamp down. Also, it pushes down all at the same time. So what you're going to do, it's going to be a little bit easier for you to see it when I've got it on this larger area here. But you take and you put the ones with the hooks, those are on the outside. And I think when you have yours sitting there, I think it'll all make sense. What you do there is you get it as tight as you can and wrap it around there, and then hook the hook on this side here. So a larger view would be this one, and you can see you've got hooks right here. You take that, wrap it around as far as you can, as tight as you can get it just with your hands there, and then snap it into place. So your clamp will look like this. Now you grab the special tool, and I'll put a link below on the tools that we sell. You open this up as far as you can and push down onto the actual clamp. And as long as your clamp is in place there in that groove, you take and just squeeze that together. There we go. Now you should have a little mushroom area here that, because this clamp, what this clamp did was squeeze those pieces together as well as push down with that center piece there. So it took and pressed. There's a bump out here, and that pressed it into this band here, so that's just to verify that it's not going to move at all. Now, this clamp is tight. You should be good to go. What you can do is take a hammer at this point and tap on this just to flatten it out. You don't have to. And I would warn you from doing too much. I just like to take that that edge off of there, but that's exactly how it should look there. Now we're going to go to our larger one, which you might be able to see a little bit better here. Wrap that around there, and you can match and mix boots and clamps. You don't have to do all the same clamps. If you want to try to reuse one of your Polaris ones or reuse another one, you're more than welcome to do that. Take and fold that over now. Try to get it as far as you possibly can. So I folded that over. Now I'm gonna hold that down so that those don't pop up. Okay, once you start clamping down on this, you can let go of these. Take and squeeze it together. Now I will warn you, if you had a hard time getting this clamp on, I would be careful. If you squeeze it too tight, you may break those pegs off. So just keep that in mind, that if you have stretched this clamp as far as you possibly can and squeeze it in, the amount of pressure that you can put on here could actually pull these pins out, those 3 tabs there. So just be careful you don't put too much pressure. Probably isn't going to happen on the smaller one because there's not a lot of room there for that clamp to push into that rubber there. But on your larger one here, there is a chance that can happen. Once you feel comfortable with how tight it is, I just take and I'll lift up on that, make sure that that's sealed completely all the way. Now I'll smash this down, kind of just to take the sharp edges off of there and kind of round those off. Now you're all set. That is that style of a clamp for your CV boots. I know on a couple different brands will switch back and forth on their bands depending on where they get the best deal from. So it may not be a bad idea. I also offer these tools sold together, and so you've got those there. I think they're check my eBay store. I'll have them listed there. I don't remember what the prices are on them, but it is important to have those tools in order to replace your CV boots. If you have questions or comments, make sure you leave those below in the comments area. Also, subscribe and like if this video has been helpful. Hit the notification bell so you can see when we post more videos on anything power sports. Thanks for watching.